Church on a Sunday, doubt on a Monday, nothing in between. Strong on the weekends, but weak when it all ends, dying to be seen. And sometimes your pretty words can really hurt, 'cause you don't love me. No, don't say you do, don't say you do. Love in a sermon, but you're gone when I'm hurting. It's harder to believe. Ooh, I'm here and I'm trying, but you're cold when I'm crying. Is it a sin to leave? And sometimes the kindest sound is silence when you don't have the answers. No, don't say you do, don't say you do. Stop telling me that I belong here. You only love what I can do for you. I know my pain is inconvenient. If you're who you say, it shouldn't matter. 'Cause sometimes the kindest sound is silence. And sometimes your pretty words can really hurt, 'cause you don't love me. No, don't say you do, don't say you do.
Hello. Okay. Hello. Jesus. Hello.
Dying to be seen. And sometimes your pretty words can really hurt, 'cause you don't love me. No, don't say you do, don't say you do.
We're so ready. We're ready, right? 7:02. Ready, Yankee?
Love in a sermon.
Hello, hello. We are live, right?
Hello.
Everybody.
We are live again.
We are so live, and we're live. Period.
Yes.
Right? We've been on this fast, and
Woo.
I don't know if we are live or what, but it's really good to the spirit. But my flesh has been totally weak. As a matter of fact, I think that's why I got a little under the weather, because of the fast. But we've been fasting, and first and foremost, we just want to remind everybody and thank everyone who has sown into Fight Like a Girl. It is just going to be phenomenal. We have so many people, so many ladies that are coming from the various shelters. As a matter of fact, I got a call on yesterday that one shelter in particular has 37 people. Oh, ay. So we need help. We need help. We need you guys to come out and volunteer. We need more stylists, hairstylists, and we need more makeup artists. It's going to be phenomenal. We have Pastor Lori, who will be having her company, career center set up. So it's for the ladies from the shelter or any young lady who is in need of a job, correct?
Yes.
Come out. They have the most awesome jobs available through this company. So come out and be a part. We really, really want to thank all of you who've sown in clothes and sponsorship monies.
Yes.
That is awesome. That is
Yes.
community. And again, we thank you. Remember, October 12th and 13th, we will be so ready. And this Saturday, this is our first Saturday of the month. Come on, give it up for Face Down. Face down, face down. We'll be here at DC Katie, 1718 Fry Road on our face, really crying out and praying for the souls that will be coming to fight like a girl.
Yes.
We have young ladies there that have 5 children, 7 children, homelessness, drug addiction, all of that. So please come out, join us get on your face. Let's get on our face together this Saturday at 9 a.m. at DC Katie, right?
Yes.
So you all know how we do it. We have some awesome special guests in the house tonight. I am so excited about both of these beautiful, beautiful ladies.
Yes.
So we'll go around and they'll kind of introduce themselves and we'll take it from there. We have a good topic tonight, y'all.
Yes, really good topic. So I am Lori Fox. I am a senior branch manager with Adecco Staffing. We are a global staffing provider. So like Lady Gail was saying, any type of job that you're looking for, whether you want to be a temporary or you're looking for a direct hire opportunity, we do all of that in every industry. And it is a fun, fulfilling job. And we will be at Flag with the Career Center. So we'll be offering jobs, but then also giving some coaching and counseling on how to advance your career. All right?
So cool. Next. Hey.
I'm Nikisha Johnson. They call me Nikki, but I'm a mother of 5 children, and I have actually worked with children and women in the court for infant toddler court in Harris County. My goal is to pursue my licensed chemical dependency counseling license and go forth and help people that have CPS involvement and women with drug addiction problems as well.
So cool.
Man, that's awesome.
Annette?
I am Tonette Wright, and I am a John Maxwell team member, and I'm also certified to be a speaker, trainer, and coach. And now I'm amongst 20,000 certified John Maxwell team members in over 155 countries.
Wow.
We are kingdom-minded people doing kingdom-minded things. And I just launched my new business. It's called Top Notch Professional Consultants. So I will come to your organization and train your people on how to get along with one another and lead properly, okay?
She's good,
So
too.
follow
She's
me
good.
on
Very
Facebook.
good.
Very good, very good. She's done some of our leadership trainings with our ministers, and she is excellent. Please, 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 if you need leadership training, customer service, whatever, please contact Tonette Wright. Yes, madam.
And I'm Erica Jones. I am a mortgage loan originator for AMCAP Mortgage.
So cool.
I've been in the business over 15 years. I specialize in helping people with their credit.
Very good.
And also, I'm a graduate. I'm a bachelor major in social work.
So cool.
And I'm finishing my master's and should be graduating by the end of December.
In social work.
In
Wow,
social
this is a good social work topic.
Yes.
This is a very good social
Right
work
on time.
topic. And so we're just going to kind of talk to you guys a little bit. Our subject tonight, our subject topic is women and codependency. This month, October, the whole month of October, we will be dealing with domestic violence awareness issues. As you guys know, domestic violence awareness the month of October is dedicated to domestic violence awareness, sexual assault, so on and so forth. So this whole month, every Tuesday, we will be involved in those particular issues. And this is our kickoff. The kickoff today is talking about women and codependency and how that entails most often, would you guys agree, domestic violence?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, domestic violence. That's just one aspect of codependency, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to define codependency as it is defined in the dictionary, but then someone gave a very good descriptive, and me and Nikki was just kind of talking about it a few minutes ago. But according to the Webster's Dictionary, codependency of or relating to a relationship in which one person is psychologically dependent on and in an unhealthy way or on someone else, especially seen in addiction and destructive behaviors. Then someone just came up with this awesome descriptive. I thought it was really great. It says, codependency is the pain in adulthood excuse me, that comes from being wounded in childhood and leads to a high probability of relationship problems and addictive compulsive behavior. And Nikki was totally in agreement with that, right, Nick? What would you say as it relates to that? And tell us a little bit about your compulsive behaviors and how you felt. You just told me how you believe you ended there.
Yes, as a child growing up, I was exposed to domestic violence. I mean, just all the time. It was a way of life. And I literally watched my stepdad pin my mom down and just beat her, sometimes to the point where she would have to go to the hospital. She stayed in that relationship way longer than she should have and exposed me and my sister to that. And it just created a void in me. I remember being just so afraid, and I would stay home with her after she'd been beat because she wouldn't feel like getting up, getting me ready for school. And I missed a track meet one time in the 5th grade, I'll never forget, because he had beat her so bad that both of her eyes were swollen shut. And I just was always walking on eggshells and just felt like nobody loved me, really. It created some habits in me later on into adulthood. I became hooked on drugs. I was heavily addicted to crack cocaine for 15 years of my life. Prostitution, you name it, I done it. And I got in relationships that didn't work. I stayed in relationships that didn't work as well. I saw a lot of men coming in and out of my mom's, life, and she had very poor coping skills growing up, and she didn't, teach me how to deal, and so I learned poor coping skills, and it's just a vicious cycle. I taught my children, my oldest children had poor coping skills, and at some point, there just has to be a place where you say, this is going to stop right here with me,
So cool. You guys?
I was just going to say, that's good that you say that because, you got to the point where you see the pattern and you don't like the pattern, right? So you say, okay, at this point, we've got to stop the pattern, and we'll really talk about that some more. But go ahead.
We most often think that codependency is, between a man and a woman, and sometimes, most often it is, but sometimes it's not. The destructive behavior I see also between, it could be children and parents.
Exactly. That's where it started with me. The prolonged exposure to other people's disruptive behavior created this poor mechanism in me where I was unable to really cope with life appropriately, and I have inappropriate relationships with other people because of that. Just looking for love all the time, looking for acceptance and approval. And of course, in childhood, it was the overachiever, the cheerleader, the straight A student, and then after, I got into my adulthood, then the behavior for me became, more destructive with the prostitution and the using drugs and just, being out by myself, walking all times of the night and just living from pillar to post. And it was, I don't know, I never understood why I was living my life like that, it just always felt like I was searching for something,
Of course. Erica?
Well, for me growing up, my parents, they fought. I guess they fought on the average of the normal. I'm gonna just say normal family. But I think my codependency started when I was molested. I was molested in 3rd grade, and sometimes when children can be more advanced than others, And when you already see a problem, you don't want to add to a problem. And I think that's how some kids are positioned, and I feel like
Right.
that's how I was positioned. So, I was molested, and actually, I didn't tell nobody that I was molested until I was an adult. So I lived with that all my life. So, the people pleasing that came, it just came natural to me because I'm still trying to hide this, you know, and it was actually my neighbor. So, and my mother and his wife had a relationship, so it was close knit, which means, you know, I would be the responsible one, which means I blame myself.
Right.
So for years I blamed myself, and for years I dealt with that. So going into relationships, because I have this dirtiness on me, it just caused me to be repeatedly in these wrong relationships.
So I have some characteristics of those. Will you, Mike, when you get ready to talk, because I want to hear this. It's one characteristic that is noted as it relates to codependency is low self-esteem.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That has been my problem for years. I fought low self-esteem, and just piggybacking off what my sister said, that you become programmed to be busy, overachiever.
Okay.
I was the one always trying to achieve. I always, even to this day, I fight because I have to have a project. I have to have a project, and I don't feel complete until that, you know, I'm just project oriented. So it's just, low self-esteem is always camouflaged by busyness, where some people feel like, you know, you're productive behind closed doors. I'm really, you know, hiding behind a curtain in an empty room, because I did have low self-esteem. Anybody would look at me and be like, I can't believe she had low self-esteem. Oh yeah, I had low self-esteem. And this is something you continually fight with. You just, it's learned behavior.
Right.
So yes, low self-esteem is a very big monster in codependency.
And you would be surprised at how many women, you know, we as women look at the outside of a
No.
woman, right? So you would be surprised how many women have low self-esteem that you would be like, you have low self-esteem? But, you know, we've talked to so
Beautiful.
many women in
Beautiful
council
women.
sessions.
Have a degree.
Oh, it's just, it is unreal. I'm like, low self-esteem about what?
And a lot of
But
times you
it-
don't
you know, it's
really
internal.
know what that person dealt with, you know, even in their childhood,
Yes.
what caused them to feel that way. You know, like you say, you have the degree, you got the job, you got the nice house. You can even be in a relationship with a man or a husband, and you think that, wow, you seem like you have it all together. But you still that person with low self-esteem. You still, your motivation and your drive is
Yes.
to get attention,
Of
because
course.
you're looking for somebody to love you and to notice you. So that's your drive, and why you do what you do, why you always have to excel, why you always want to be the best, whether it's on your job, in your career. You got to go after the promotion and do whatever it takes to get there, because you want to be noticed, and just looking for somebody to validate you.
So in other words, you think that you've lived your life invisible, you know what I'm saying, where you really believe that you're not, nobody sees you, nobody, I can imagine, I mean, my heart is breaking for Nikki. I've been knowing Nikki for, I know about 11 years when you came to the church, and I never knew that. But I can just imagine, because I know her personality and her temperament, to sit there and try to care for an adult, because the pain that probably you felt to take care of your mother during those times of abuse, I can't even phantom that. Children being put in those positions, and that can be overwhelming and overbearing, and also I think creates a fragmented psyche. You know how Nikki just, I don't know how I did that, because most often our psyche becomes fragmented when we see certain things, or we're put into certain positions. You know, we're broken, our mindset. I mean, I've been in some dark places where I felt as if my mind was split. You know, it was like a puzzle. And so for a child to endure some of those things, I can only imagine, you know? So another characteristic is Caretaking. What do you guys say about caretaking?
When she said project, I listened to what she was saying, but in my mind, I will pick a man that's a project all day long before I will look at somebody that has their stuff together and really, we settle for being needed instead of loved.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
And so I'm always, picking out a project. Well, if I just love him good enough, if I just, show him, what a great wife I'll make, and just getting it all out of order and backwards because I'm not whole in my own self yet. I want to be in a situation where when the red flags show up, and they do, and we ignore them and we pretend like it's not happening, I want to be in a position where I'm not so thirsty I can walk away and say, you know what? I don't think this is for me. I'm going to go ahead and let you have this. But codependency keeps me in relationships that don't work past the point to where now we got children involved.
Wow.
And now we have drugs involved again because you can't do recovery in codependency.
Right.
That just doesn't work.
Right.
And then when you have two people, I've been on the end where I was with the one with the disruptive behavior, making everybody else around me crazy, and then I've been the one that's on the receiving end of that. And just to go back, I remember Lauren at the age of 4 years old, I would go and smoke crack and be gone for days and come home smelling like God Almighty and feet tired and hungry, and my baby would give me her food, and she would be eating at the table, just trying to take care of me, so I've done this to my children as well, in my younger years before I got up to where I had any sense to know better, and I live with that every day. Those are years that I'll never get back. I can't undo that. To my children,
And it's a vicious cycle. That's that, my mama was like that we did. Those generational things that come and attack us. And most often, the Bible even tells us how it visits the third, even to the fourth generation. But it's a visitor.
That's right.
It's not mandated to reside.
That's right.
It's a visitor. And what keeps the visitor in our, sort of like a squatter, he'll take over if it's empty. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when we're empty, when we're void of knowledge, lack of knowledge, he attacks us in those areas. And so, we've been with Nick for a while, and I am so proud of you. Those things, let me tell you, time can be redeemed.
Yes.
Time will be redeemed from this point on. We look at redemption and knowing that stuff has been cast so far away from us into the sea of forgetfulness. The East will never meet the West.
That's right.
And so we won't live under condemnation,
That's right.
but we'll live in that place of conviction because it'll keep us free. But not that place of condemnation. Okay. So what do you think? I'm going to let Erica talk about this one. Another characteristic is denial.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. I can say codependency, when it first started off, I was fine. I'll just say I was normal. But I met this guy, and he just blew me off my feet. And
Y'all been there.
but that's where my codependency started. And he had just lost his mom. Actually, we had went together in high school and broke up. And later on, I heard that his mom had passed.
Wow.
So we got back together, and just a lovable guy. But then one day it happened, and the aggressiveness came. So there I became a caretaker. In denial of domestic violence, never had been in a situation, like that in my life, because I did have a dad that did nobody mess with. He was like the sheriff of the town.
Yes, Dad.
Oh, this, oh no, we ain't gonna mess with her. But I ran up on this one right here that would challenge who my dad was.
Wow.
So I was in total denial of the abuse and I mean, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, and I allowed him to separate me from my family.
Wow.
So
Control.
Yep,
he
Isolation.
took control over my life, and I was in denial that it was actually abuse because I was saying that, you know, he's just doing this because he's hurting. You know, he needs help. And you know, when your own family don't fool with you, you know, you don't need to fool with that person.
Yeah.
So, you know, I saw the signs. The signs are there, but it was just like I was caught in a spider web that I couldn't get out of.
Yeah.
Erica, can you explain the difference between the emotional abuse and the physical abuse? Because sometimes the emotional abuse can be even more,
Detrimental.
detrimental, yeah.
Let me say, the emotional abuse, a lot of time, I've always said that sometimes I'd rather be hit than to have the emotional abuse. Because the emotional abuse that I endured during this relationship, it was sexual. I mean, I was forced to have sex literally with a gun up to my head. I mean, if I was at my parents' house, he used to literally drive me to an open field and make me take my clothes off and put a gun in my head just to check me. So that within itself is like seeing your life flash before your face, and you're not even in a situation that, you know, life is going to be taken. So the emotional abuse is terrible. It's trauma. It's traumatic.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's where trauma began in my life. And you know, to this day, I have been diagnosed with PTSD
Jeez.
because of
Yeah,
that
that's
one
also
relationship.
Right.
Because of that trauma. And I can see why women resort to so many measures to escape domestic violence, because you have to have a strong support system when you're in a domestic violence situation. I'm not saying I didn't have a strong support system, but I had isolated myself
course.
from my family, and they had intervened so many times to
Right.
where, when is really the truth that you're
Right.
ready to get out of this situation.
Right.
So, I mean, it even led to the point in my situation that I had an aunt that they had to literally come and kidnap me from Mississippi to take me to Milwaukee to get away from this person. So, you know, emotionally, the licks were less than the emotion. And the emotional abuse is really what has tremendously followed me and tried to enslave me all of my life,
Right.
that I've had to take authority over.
Right.
So control is just, it will make you convert to that, being that codependent person, because you don't really know the reaction of this person
Right.
from 1 minute to the next.
Right.
So you're systematically conditioned to convert to that behavior because you don't want it to result to you're not being here.
Right. Right.
Almost a grooming,
Exactly.
you know, grooming, you get,
Right.
because you said it, that it didn't start off that way. You know, he didn't show that side. He was a cool guy, nice guy, caring guy, but it's a grooming and it's a progression.
It is.
It's like, you know, they never just come out and just start ahead of time, but no, it's a little bit. So, you know, if you just slap me, okay, he didn't mean that, you know what I'm saying? And you come back and make it up and all of that kind of stuff. But the more that it happens, the more easier it is for the person to continue to abuse an individual. And that isolation, that is a big one.
It
Right.
You know,
is.
that's a
It
big
is.
one, because the individual knows, if you can stay in that support system, then eventually you probably will come out.
Right.
So let me isolate you from that support system
Right.
to make sure that I keep total control.
Right.
So it's that,
Right.
that
Right.
measure of, I want to be in control. I am controlling you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You gonna say something,
No,
Laura?
I was just gonna say, you know, when you were talking about the emotional abuse being worse than the physical, that is just so true, because you can heal from a black eye, right? Your physical body sometimes can heal if it's not so traumatic, but those words and just that focused ability to tear you down on the inside, that's something like you said, you know, you've been diagnosed with PTSD. That's something that's that has been torn internally.
Oh, yes.
So that doesn't heal as quick as a black eye will heal. So, and you see that so much. And,
Oh, yes.
you know, I've seen that throughout the women in my family, just going through all of that. And it is very traumatic. And it's interesting to me how it is so intentional by the aggressor.
Of
Oh,
course.
yes.
Oh,
Oh,
so
yes.
intentional.
Oh, yes.
Smart,
It's
very
calculated.
It's like
Calculated.
I was just gonna say, it's very calculated where
Of
they
course.
they're looking and seeking the person who they know has the low self-esteem. You know, the person that, it's like, because it's something in us that will draw them to us. That they know that there's something missing. It's just like a person who's looking for a prey. And so when they scope you out, then they buy you with, you know, the gifts and, you know, because they want to win your trust. They want, you know, to gain that trust. And then they'll even, if you got parents at home, well, they'll buy them gifts. They want to get their trust. They want to start doing things for them to where the mom is like, oh my God, girl, you got to marry this man. He's a good man. And, you know, vice versa, even with the dad, until they step in and then they pull you and they begin to isolate you with different things and say, oh, well, you know what, we're not going to go have Christmas with family this year. Oh, we're not going to go for Thanksgiving this year. You know, eventually you don't go at all. Eventually months and months or years can go by to where you don't even talk to your family, or they take your phone, they start checking your phone calls. It's just a lot of ways that I've even seen people in my family become controlled, you know, in those type of relationships and manipulated. And I remember being involved in one, and it was more emotional, and it was threats and, you know, different things that was made to me, but it brought on such a fear because what I was in a relationship, he'd signed for my car, so now it was something to bait me to think that I was going to stay,
back, right.
you know, until I got to a place in God to where I'm like, Lord, no, I want out. And when the Lord gave me an out, he said, okay, now that I've given you an out, you got to break all ties. You got to give the car back. You got to not care. And the Lord literally gave me every out that I need. I was driving 2 cars at the same time because he was letting me know that, hey, I'm got this worked out for you. If you really for real and want to be free from this thing, God will open up the door and make a way of escape.
Another characteristic is dysfunctional communication as it relates to, it says, codependents have trouble when it comes to communicating their thoughts, feelings, and needs. Of course, if you don't know what you think, feel, or need, this becomes a problem. So that, in actuality, is taken away from you.
Right.
You're not allowed to think. You're not allowed to really, because if you really thought about it, or really could, those feelings were really conveyed over, then I believe, intentionally or subconsciously they're shut down. You know, that's not how I'm feeling, because in essence we know something is wrong,
Right.
but we are subconsciously, no, that's not really how it is. That's not really, I really don't want to leave him. You know, that's still going back to that denial piece. What you think about that, Nikki?
Well, I think that as a codependent, I don't really give myself time to find out if I like somebody before I just glob on.
Come on, girl.
The word that I learned in treatment is enmeshment. And enmeshment means that you're totally laying, you have your life, I have my life, and I'm laying over on top of your life so much to where it's taking everything I have to make sure you're okay.
Wow.
And
You're the fixer-upper.
and I'm the fixer-upper. And my life doesn't matter anymore, especially with people. I remember in a relationship that I was into pornography, just the sneaking around, doing little stuff, and you would have a hunch that something wasn't quite right, or the locks on the phone. What you locking your cell phone for? Ain't nobody here but me and you. You know, just making me feel like I was crazy. You know, telling me nothing's going on. I've been told you're full of drama my whole life. Because we're reactionaries. We underreact, we overreact, but rarely ever do we act and do something different to make a change, you know.
Right.
And so I just thought I was full of drama. I guess I'm just a drama queen, or I'm just a drama mama, you know, and that's not true. You know, that's not true.
Overreact or underreact?
Yeah.
Because I have seen Nikki overreact, and I've seen her, I'm like, why are you not tripping?
Yeah, doing crazy stuff. Just like when I moved that boy into that apartment. Just doing crazy stuff.
We wasn't gonna bring that up.
And I was just acting
Look,
like,
Pastor is still here. Don't stir those
was
old
not gonna bring
emotions
that up.
before he overreacts.
Pastor want to ring my neck,
Oh
y'all.
my God.
He has forgiven you.
Oh,
He has.
this girl is gonna make my husband go to do 10 to 20 in penitentiary. I mean, we just had this. Y'all gotta catch on to this one. Pastor is so awesome, so loving and so kind. And this kid stole his heart because he has an issue, number one, mostly for children.
Yes.
Because of, I believe, the way he was raised, and he had such a bad experience as a child. He knew hunger, he knew all of that.
Right.
So Nikki had these three beautiful young kids, and we have this apartment, and he moves them in because at this time, Nick, you were waiting on
just
something.
came out of a
She just came out of a rehab.
And I didn't have
Didn't have a place
housing.
to live, didn't have housing yet. And so he's like, well, Gail, and they just gonna have to move in over there with me. And so I'm there like 2 or 3 days a week, right? I was just telling someone this morning, every day, Nikki would wake up hollering and screaming at those kids. And so I would get up and text on the phone, can we please just have one morning where you're not...
But that's what my mama did. My mama
Exactly.
was a cusser and a hollerer
my
and a
God.
screamer. And you never knew when you was going to get woke up out your... My mama woke me up out my sleep one time and beat me half to death because she thought that we went in the food that she bought for us to make our school lunches out of. And I had made the lunches and put them in the freezer. And she just looking at the open packages of bologna and like to beat me to death. And the lunches was in the
But
freezer.
see, that, again, that's that
Overreact.
generational thing.
Overreact.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what would happen. And I knew when she would get the message, because I would hear her say, oh, Lord, that kind of stuff. And so that was continual. That was a cycle, but that was learned behavior.
And I hated that.
And she-
why would
yeah.
I get up and do that to my own children?
And so they would send, I would tell Nikki, you send them out, their whole morning has been wrecked.
Yeah.
So it was more like the guidance, and I believe the Lord, because I would go home, but then sometimes I would stay, and I was in that place to almost like do parental training or whatever. And so when I did end up leaving and staying gone, I'm like, okay, we can kind of relinquish, some more responsibility and blah, blah, blah. Lord have mercy. The girl had the boy in the house. And out of the mouth of babes and sucklings, not just bring forth some praise, but bring forth gossip. Reagan told me the baby. My mama having a baby. I said, girl, stop. Stop that, little girl. Stop that. Don't say that. And sure enough, and I mean, when he found out, Nikki took us forever. She was showing I say, babe, I think it's true. So between her and Pastor, they ran me crazy for at least a month. Am I right, Nick?
Oh my God, Pastor told me. I went to church. Just laid my head on Lori's lap on the altar. She said, Nikki, what's wrong? I couldn't even stop crying. I just knew I was dead.
Oh, but it all worked together for the good. God is faithful. That's the kind of stuff. So this has been at least, Nick, 8 years ago.
Well, Reagan's 11, and she was only a couple of months
Right,
old when
she's a baby.
I came to
The church. So she was still in your arms. But look at you now.
Yeah.
Look at you now. And I mean, we stand in that faith, believing that this is not the end of the course.
Right.
I mean, your latter shall be greater than your former.
Yes.
But one thing I wanted to talk about is the way codependency it really involves that emptiness, that feeling of being empty. And I see that a lot in people. I mean, I know a young girl, and I talked to her not long ago, and I see her kind of bounce from relationship to relationship because there's a void there. And so she'll go to one relationship, come out of that one, get in another one. Number one, I believe not wanting to be alone because it all kind of, enmeshed together, the loneliness and the emptiness. And so how do you guys speak to that? Just feeling that emptiness to keep you in that place. Erica?
Well, I say when I first felt that is, I did what you did, and I prayed, and I asked the Lord to, and I didn't know the Lord, so I was just praying to somebody to deliver me from this situation, you know. And I did remember myself say, only not in death. I don't wish death on
Wow.
anybody.
Jeez.
So, how I ended up escaping was, he was incarcerated. He went to jail. But when he went to jail, I was lost.
Wow.
I couldn't, it was almost like I had been in solitary confinement for so many years. I didn't know how to conduct myself in everyday life. Literally, when we used to go to the grocery store, if I saw somebody that I went to school with, and I grew up in this town, I would hold my head down to keep them from saying something to me. So that's how low my self-esteem was. That's how low and empty I was. And literally, as glad as I was, I cried, but at the same time, I didn't know how to even begin again. So emptiness, that's where my emptiness started. So what I did then was I reverted to doing bad to men.
Wow.
So I flipped and I turned into, an ugly person. And I turned, you was right, I turned into an abuser. So I was numb to relationships. So I was numb to relationship commitment because I hadn't always been like that. I was a confident person. He was the person with low self-esteem that he made me the person that I had become.
Wow.
So what I found that loneliness is when you have your seasons of low, those seasons of low, the what is it? Idle mind is the devil's workshop. That's where those feelings come back. Because I don't care what anybody say, any victim of domestic violence, you can be resilient, but you will always have residue of that abuse.
Wow.
That you have to deal with on a seasonal basis. I'll say that.
Wow.
So loneliness will come, and it will cause those feelings to wake back up. And if you don't have the proper coping skills,
That's good.
Come on.
then you're going to revert back to that behavior. But if you learn the coping skills, then the coping skills that you learn can help you to deviate from that behavior over and over again.
I remember when I first came into the ministry, and I told Sister Alicia, I was afraid to look Pastor in the eye. I couldn't make eye contact with Pastor and keep it. It was something shameful on me and in me that you don't recognize what real love when you get. You're looking for love, and then when you get it, you don't see it for what it is, and. I have to stay connected today. I know the people in my world, in my life that love me and want to see me do better and be better. And my favorite scripture right now is there is safety in the multitude of counselors. Because when I was young in the ministry, I said, they in my business. Get out my business. Stop trying to tell me what to do. Why you all over here? You worried about the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? Just having an attitude about people trying to love on me and tell me right and be the word in my life, And today I appreciate that. And I really believe this last bout I had with depression and codependency and the way the relationship ended, I might have gone back out to the crack house if I hadn't had you guys there to welcome me back and love me. Because we know the dope man gonna welcome me back. Because he just ready for me to get in my pocket or open my legs or whichever one. Really, we know the dope man gonna welcome you back. But it was so refreshing to find out that I had a place that I could just come and be broken and be transparent and just, get back to the place where I left off,
That's
the
right.
right trail,
Yes,
That was,
yes.
that was just great.
We
Yes.
got you, we got you, we got you. You know we have
You
you.
already know.
I was
Yes,
reading
Lord.
today and just thinking about it in actuality, how the codependent personality is likened to the woman at the well. Everybody talks about the woman at the well and all of this, but that is codependency in a nutshell. 6 men, I'm like, girl, you are flipping all over in these relationships, but still
going on.
empty.
That's
Still
right.
freaking empty. You know what I'm saying? So that tells me, and then what really blew my mind, I was thinking about a lot of codependents are in the church sector, but it hasn't really, because we can hide behind the word.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? We hide that stuff behind the
Get me on
word.
that.
Yeah, we close
And
it.
so I looked at her life, the woman at the well. You are you are shacking for the 6th time, and you gonna have the nerve to ask somebody where you worship, because you worship somewhere else. You know, so a lot of times those things are hidden behind the word. But you have to confront that stuff and deal with it. And that's what Jesus did in her life. He made her confront her codependent personality and deal with it. And most often, especially in the quote unquote body, we won't confront. We won't deal with the thing that's in front of us. And if you really want to be free, you have to confront it, look it in the face, and say, you know what? I am
Whatever it
codependent.
That's right.
You know, I allow this, and this. This is unhealthy. This is toxic. And this is not what is for my life. Because I have a plan, and it's to do me good and not evil. And this that I'm involved in, it is causing evil and to take effect in my life. We as women will hide behind, and I saw that. You know, where you Jews say this is where you worship, I worship here. Girl, you don't even know what you're worshiping because you're in bondage. And so we cannot hide behind the word. No, the word is active and it's living. It's not to be hidden behind, it's to be implemented.
That's right.
And so
Right.
we can't do this. So another characteristic is painful emotions. What do you guys think about that? It says codependency creates stress and leads to painful emotions.
Well, I can speak on that. In addition to loneliness, which is one of the monsters that's gonna follow you throughout, is whenever my painful emotion is whenever people aggressive towards me, I can't take you being talking above me.
Wow.
Because it wakes something up. And it's a trigger. That's one of my triggers. And it caused me to go from 0 to 160 three times.
Wow.
When that comes, because it's like my body remembers
Right.
where I've been. So those emotions, like there again, you have to have coping skills. And believe it or not, Mom, what helped me get free was the word. It was my relationship with Christ. That was one thing. But there came a time that I had the word, but these triggers were coming and the word
Whoa.
couldn't hold me down.
Whoa, come on, talk about that. It's the truth.
So it was like reality all over again. So there again, in life, we have boundaries. And that's one thing a codependent person should have is boundaries.
Yes, healthy
But
boundaries.
one thing I've learned is my boundaries have to change often. And it's because it's situational. I have to be able to know and be able to determine, you know what was working last season ain't working this season. I got to come up with something else.
Come on.
So I literally have to talk to myself
Yes.
because those emotions continually come. And it fights off anxiety, it fights off fear, and it fights
Right.
off those voices. So those emotions are key.
Very real.
They're real.
And I just
They are very
appreciate you being so transparent to say, that's continual. Because like you just said, in the church, we do try to hide, but at the end of the day, she was empty. So it don't matter how much you worship, no matter how much words you recite,
Empty.
if you are empty without living water.
Oh my God.
It's just, and even with the living water, it's still a walk. You still have to make sure, okay, is this river still flowing or is it a stagnant pool? So living water is moving. So it is, even like you said, there's things you have to do to adjust. And I think so often we think that because we are in believers that we don't have to do these things. We're not exempt from that. You know, yes, we have the power of God, but it has to be active and moving, and you say that all the time. So I just appreciate you saying that, because it is to help women out there know that, yes, you could still be in Christ and still be loving God and all of this and have your triggers. You could flip one day. And you can still be in Christ and be all of that just because it's not all roses. I don't really know who told anybody that it was going to be roses, because that's not what my words say. My Bible don't say that. But, you know, just being able to tell them, look, this is a journey. You're going to have to go through this. And yes, we're victorious, but it's a journey. So you don't get a victory without a battle or without some type of process. So I appreciate that.
And not only that, you know, most often we categorize people and we'll say, okay, well, she's uneducated, that's going to happen to her. We have someone here, master degree, social work. Social work deals with this in actualities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So you would think a person that has all the education, all of this kind of stuff would not fall into that. Nobody is exempt. That's why we can't even judge different
That's
people,
right.
because
That's right.
nobody is exempt. The rich, the poor, the educated, nobody is exempt from these behaviors.
That's right.
Because it's deep rooted. It's seated. It's something like Nikki said that started even in childhood. I do believe the psyche can become split, because I've been there. A split psyche. So we use these things, these defense mechanisms, build this thing around us to protect us. But in
right.
actuality,
Right.
we become a detriment to ourselves.
That's right.
So although, you know, I can take my mom getting abused, I can take all of this now because I've been in that place, but in the end, what I do is I self-medicate with crack cocaine, because in actuality, my psyche was split.
Right.
You know, I really
Right.
couldn't handle that,
Right.
especially as a
Exactly.
child.
Exactly.
What you say to that, Nick?
I think so. Even now, when a situation get too hot and heated, my default mode says, go pick up a drink. I have to literally, on purpose, say, no, I'm not gonna drink. You know, and then that's just the door opening, you know, for whatever else, you know, because a lot of times codependents are chemically dependent as well, you know. And I was thinking about being on here, and I like it as it's a journey. And I was thinking about the place in the word where the 10 lepers, and one came back to give glory, but they were healed as they were going.
Yes, come on.
God didn't
come on, Nick.
immediately deliver them
As they went.
as they went. So I just have to keep putting one foot in
Yes.
front of the other. I just have to
going.
keep pressing.
Keep going.
you
Yes.
know, and
Oh,
you
my
know,
goodness.
I have to learn to identify the truth and tell myself the truth.
Yes.
Because I have lied to myself for people for years, trying to make excuses for them, and oh, she wouldn't be like that if he hadn't beat her. I recently had to block my mother from texting my phone or calling me because I got tired of her calling me, cussing me out. Half the time I don't even know what she be talking about. And I know she's been abused and I know she's been through a lot, but detachment. Okay,
it.
I have to cut myself loose from that. Baby daddy, trying to be co-parent and be, you know, even though I'm still very hurt at the way things turned out in that relationship, still trying to love him, still trying to be the bigger person, and just always end up frustrated, upset, angry, thrown off. You know, I'm fine. I talk to you now. I'm thrown off. Guess what? Detachment. You going to the voicemail, buddy. Leave a message because it's time
Whatever
for
it
me.
takes.
My son, and I put that child through a lot. The same thing I put Lauren through, I put Michael through. But Lauren and Michael are not the same.
Of course.
Michael wants to cuss me and call me all this and that. He's hurt. He's that. He wants me to do things that aren't in my power to do.
Pain.
Detachment. I love you, son. I'm not gonna block my child, but I did turn them notifications off because I don't want to keep putting myself through all of that with these people and their stuff. You know, I have to try to learn how to heal now. I have to allow God
Good
to
deal.
provide me
Good
with the
deal.
space I need
That
to
is
heal
God.
because
So
I can't
good.
do it with you in my face constantly stirring up these triggers and these emotions and stuff, you know?
Good deal.
That's really
Good
good.
deal.
That's
Erica?
awesome.
I'll just say with that, growing up, going through the process, I can say with my children, I became overprotective. People would say, because of everything that I've been through. But and I became overprotective with myself. But up until but I had to learn that if I keep myself from being put in situations in the past before, I'm not only keeping myself from being damaged again, I'm keeping myself from joy.
Oh,
right.
wonderful.
So I had
Good.
to tear those things down, and even to the point up to this day, when you called me, I had just prayed and asked the Lord. I said, you know what, Lord, I refuse to allow these feelings to continue to come back into my life and take over my situations, because if you have to be careful, they'll make you self-destruct.
Oh, yes, right.
So I just said, you know what, Lord, I want to be vulnerable. I want to be vulnerable again.
Wow.
I want my
Awesome.
joy back.
Awesome,
I want my
awesome,
life back.
awesome.
And going back to what you said, I had to take authority. And whenever something comes up with me now, I don't sit on it. I have to address it.
Tell it.
I'm not gonna let it. I might think
Yes.
about it a few minutes, but that's it. But I have to release it from me, because the more you hold in,
Yes.
the more that codependency enslaves you.
Yes, yes.
And it keeps you
Yes.
going back into that mode over and over and over again. Validation from people. I refuse to be validated. I'm not gonna. The only person that's gonna validate me is the good Lord.
Come on now.
Right.
And His Spirit that lives within me.
that's
So I had to learn all this over again. I had to take my life back.
Come on.
Not knowing
Come
that
on.
I was gonna wake up one morning and this lady right here gonna text me.
Like, you ready?
Well, you took your life back.
And I was like, Lord, you joking, right? And then I had to text her. I was like, did I ever share my story with you? And she was like, no, what story? And I was like, okay, Lord. So, this platform is the first time I've been vulnerable to tell
That's all right. That's all right.
It definitely was.
Somebody, somebody gonna get free.
That's
Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
did I
I'm
tell you something?
No,
She was
I'm
like,
so proud of you. I mean, because I believe where we have to move.
Yes.
We have to move into transparency.
Yes.
We had someone ask us a few weeks ago, how do we get to this point of coming to this place of being real? Well,
Right.
that's the only way that somebody's going to overcome.
That's right.
Through transparency.
way.
That's right.
Because for years I thought I was the only wretched one that was in the church.
Me too.
I left out, came straight out the club,
Yeah.
went on into the church. And I'm like, everybody in here is saved for real. You saved for real. And so I was really hard on myself for a long time until I started learning about history. About church history. So I don't want to get to a place. I've always been real and transparent because I know that people are more comfortable when they understand that you too have a past in the story.
right.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
right.
So
We all
this
do.
is our past.
That's it.
And I refuse to let my past catch up to my future.
That's
That's
right.
it'll never catch me.
That's
My
right.
past, it can't catch up to where I'm going. So I might as well leave it in the dust and tell it, so somebody else can catch on to it and say, "Oh, wow, okay, it really works."
That's
so
right.
I mean, transparency works,
Yes,
and so
right.
I cannot see people that hide behind their stuff. No, you gotta be open and let people know, because that's the only way somebody is gonna get free.
That's it.
I'm telling you, all of these new wine shows, we've had people to inbox us, text us. Last week when we talked about the pornography, I had someone to text me, I don't even know her, from Adam, and she opened up to say that her marriage is on the rocks. And so she knew that she wasn't alone. You understand? And cried out to help for help.
That's
So how do you know when you're not alone? When people are transparent.
That's right.
When they tell the truth.
That's it.
Okay,
That's
so last but not least, let's talk about the last characteristic is, and you guys kind of mentioned it, but I want to go a little bit more into details so somebody that don't really understand can get it. Poor boundaries. Boundaries are sort of an imaginary line between you and others. But you all up in my space.
I was just
You
thinking
know,
that.
I mean, yeah. So you don't understand those boundaries. I mean, the things that, people should not be allowed to call you out of your name. They should not be allowed to slap you upside your head.
Right.
But if you don't understand boundaries, then you will allow this stuff. What do you say, Nick?
And you will tell yourself lies. Oh, he's just doing it because
He
loves
loved me?
me.
Sure.
Just like my son. Oh, he's just doing it because he's hurt.
Hurting.
But
Those are poor boundaries.
Those are poor boundaries.
Yeah, he needs boundaries.
Right.
Yes, those are poor boundaries. And I have, set poor boundaries in most other relationships that I've had. The one thing that I'm telling you that has helped me more than anything is to want to be content in the relationships that God has given me with my children and with my church family and even some of the people on my job where I'm happy in those relationships.
Cool.
And I'm loved in those relationships and I'm fulfilled.
Come on now.
And
Come on. Come
complete
on.
with that.
Give it up for that.
And I'm not looking for something else because when you go looking for stuff, baby, you're going to find something.
So how do you kind of, you guys, both of you guys, either one, how do you kind of stay out of that? Because I know Nikki is in a place now where, hopefully she can move. I'm like, because you need to be closer to us and so on and so forth, and
I'll
Conroe
pray
or whatever,
for that.
close to
Yes.
where you can
Yes.
visit. And
Yes.
because a lot of times we find ourselves isolated,
Yes.
coming out of these areas, and we isolate ourselves, and that's when the enemy can attack as well. So what is the plan for future? What do you guys have planned to make sure that you stay in that place of freedom, that you continue to walk, and as you go, freedom, total freedom,
Right.
and healing shall come? What is your plan?
We don't talk about morals and values anymore like we did back
Come on.
in the olden days. I set morals and values in my life,
Good
and
deal.
I don't just center it around my husband, which has been a tremendous blessing. God made him for me.
That's so good.
For the damaged old me, he made him for me.
Wow, awesome.
But even with the abuse that I've endured, I used to be always, like I said, project oriented. I'm always doing something for my kids, always doing something for my husband. But I had to learn how to love me.
Wow.
I had to learn all over again how to love me. So number one, I set boundaries around me,
That's right.
and everything else was added. I put God first. I set my boundaries around my own life to make sure that I'm taking care of me.
That's good.
And then it goes my husband, and then
That's
my
good.
children, and
That's
everybody else. And
really good.
those other boundaries is I learned how to say no.
That's really good.
No.
That's a good one.
It hurt me to say no because I usually would spread myself thin, trying
That's that
to be
people
there for
pleasing.
everybody. But I had to shut that down.
Yep.
And
And
learn
if it
how to
don't
say
fit
no.
on the calendar with a little bit time left for me, it can't fit.
No. That's
So
good.
I just had to learn how to do life
And
and
love
prioritize things in my life because the
good.
more crowded you get, the more faded your vision is.
Wow.
That's right.
Excellent.
So-
Excellent.
That's what
very
I do.
good. That's good.
So we're gonna go ahead on and end it. We'll have Maisha to come and sing us out.
Time goes by so
It goes by
fast.
so fast. It's like
fast.
it's never enough time.
Don't forget about this Saturday. So we'll be here for Face Down Prayer. We want you to come here to DC Katie. We'll post it on both of the pages so you can have access to that. But we definitely want to see you in the place.
You want to pray us out? You can pray us out.
So we just want you to know that despite what you're going through, despite what you found yourself in or escaped out of, you're loved. And that love can go into places that the words have damaged you and bring about healing. The love can go into the wounds and bring cleansing. It can redefine your life if you just get lost in God's love like you did that relationship. 'Cause He's jealous for thee. He loves like a hurricane. You be the tree, bended beneath the weight of God's winds and mercies. And all of a sudden, you'll be unaware of how He's always been there. You heal the wounds, erase the pain, remove the shame. 'Cause oh, how he loves you so. My God, he really loves you. God loves you so. See, he loves you just as you are. He loves you. Though you've been scarred, he loves you. It's not too much. His love can come in and cleanse you and refresh your soul. He loves you just as you are. He loves you, broken and scarred. He loves you. Let love in to show you true love.
Lord Jesus, we thank you. We thank you for this day. We just thank you, Lord Jesus, that just as you met the woman at the well, that you would meet every single woman that is empty, Father. That you would be the satisfier of our soul, Lord God. For when you satisfy our souls, Father, we have rivers of living water, not just flowing out of us, but flowing to other women, where we can help each other come out and come through and make the journey, Lord God. We thank you for all that you're doing in us and through us. We thank you for the hurtful past. We thank you for our present and our future. We know that you mean nothing but good to us, that you have an expected end and a future and a hope for us. So we bless you and we thank you, and we declare and decree that the joy of the Lord will continually be our strength, that we will have joy unspeakable and full of your glory, that we would shine bright in a dark world, and we would help one another with your love. In Jesus' name, amen.